It was the coldest night in the north. Queen Sienna's screams echoed throughout the castle. The midwife asked her to push harder, while another dried the beads of sweat that ran down her forehead. Another woman came in with more cloths. The amount of blood was almost a certainty of the queen's death, a birth as difficult as her pregnancy. After one last push, silence fell over the place, followed by a baby's cry, loud and clear. The princess had finally been born. Upon hearing the cry, the king entered the room. He could no longer wait to hear about his heir. But seeing the state of his companion, he did not even look at the baby. He just wanted his queen to be well. Having a child without his companion was like trad-ing 6 for half a dozen. He wanted a complete family. Sometime later, the bleeding was finally contained. The king did not leave his bee. Love sighed, and soon the princess was brought into the queen's arms. "It's a girl," the midwife said, handing her the beautiful baby. They had been trying to have a child for years. King Louis was being patient. He loved his wife, but she knew that his life would only be complete when his dream came true. She saw the look in the king's eyes when his allies informed him about the birth of their children. It was as if everyone was blessed except him. That would be his burden for not obeying the moon goddess. When Louis assumed the throne, he had just turned 18 and still had no companion. As soon as the crown was placed upon his head, he smelled his chosen one. She too felt the connection. The crowd cheered the new king, and even with so many people, his eyes met his companions. While the people celebrated, the king asked for the young woman to be taken to his office. She entered with a smile on her face, which soon faded upon hearing the king's words. He rejected her and forbade her to speak of it. The young woman argued with him. She was his destined companion and Luna of his people. But as king, he threatened her. He could imprison her or worse, kill her. She remained silent and accepted. A companion capable of such a thing was not worthy of her love. Unsatisfied, he banished her from his kingdom. The young woman was escorted home. Arriving there, she told her family and being the only daughter of the best shoemaker in town, her father would never let his daughter die, and worse, at the hands of the one who was supposed to protect her. At that same moment, he packed his things and left with his wife and daughter from the place he had called home since he had left his late mother's womb. As they departed, fireworks lit up the entire sky. And even without seeing, the young woman felt the betrayal. The king took Sienna to the people and introduced her as Luna. They had already been together for some time, so she would be his companion. He would not give that up, even knowing that there would be consequences for his disobedience. Years passed and it became frustrating to see them. Both want a baby so badly and not be able to. The queen had already had 6 interrupted pregnancies and 2 buried babies. And as much as they told her not to continue with the madness of getting pregnant, she would not listen. She just wanted to give the son her husband wanted so badly, the successor. The queen prayed every day and night for the goddess to hear her. And after a long time, the goddess answered her pleas and presented her with the most beautiful of creatures, even though it was not a male as they wanted. Having a child without caring about the sex was in fact the only thing they wanted at this point. When the princess was finally born, the bells rang for 2 long and the whole town celebrated for a week. The couple's happiness was more than noticeable. A week after the princess's birth, the 3 alphas met at the castle to celebrate. The north, east and west were together again, celebrating life and the birth of Princess Selena. But this had an expiration date. The east under the command of the Lens, the west the Belmontes, an invitation that could not be refused since it came from the king of all alphas, Louis Hunter IV, who lived up to the surname he carried. He was the greatest hunter that ever lived. Another thing that was about to change. Before it all happened, the packs were always united, including the south. But something happened overnight, and without explanation, the South was excluded. Each one was master of their own space. They were not enemies. It was just a matter of following the agreement made by the ancient ancestors, and everything would be fine. They lived in peace and harmony. Everything was going well, at least that's what they thought. Some say that wolves are cursed beings. Well, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But what they knew for sure was that genera, Tyans, never stopped growing, and that was exactly why they were meeting tonight. Celebrating life. It was supposed to be the best night ever. There was drinking, food, music. The hall was filled with friends and acquaintances. After all, the successor was born. What no one expected was that this night would be hard to forget. Agreements were about to be broken. Wars would be declared. Villages would be destroyed. Losses would be inevitable. And for a long time it was like that. But that was about to change. Revenge is never complete. It kills the soul and poisons it.